Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 22 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 37 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix in Season 2. This is the penultimate episode of this season, so this will set up the season finale we have next time at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the Mexican GP, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one uploaded a couple of days ago. That was quite a chaotic one with a shock new winner in Formula 1, and championship rivals of myself and Verstappen came to blows as we made contact in that race, and that definitely changed things up a bit. It was damage limitation. Verstappen was able to gain some points, and it means going into the final two rounds, we still have the lead of the championship by a healthy margin in terms of career mode, my team terms, ahead of Verstappen, and especially Lewis Hamilton, who had a very quiet, uncharacteristic Grand Prix there, whereas his teammate was right up there on the podium trying to dethrone what was then the new race winner. I mean, a spoiler by now, hopefully you've gone and seen it. Mick bloody Schumacher won his first race in Formula 1. Very weird season for Haas. You know, they started off so strong with Carlos Sainz knocking on the door of a podium and, you know, getting some solid points finishes. Then they had a very quiet rest of the season, but recently with the R&D chart, we've seen them improve quite steadily, and last episode, they seemed like a rocket ship in a straight line. I don't know if they'll have the same performance here because Mexico is very unique, and it seemed like that was just one characteristic of the Haas car that prevailed very well for them. But as I said, as of late, Hamilton has dropped the ball a little bit. He's dropped a couple of points, so he's still in the championship fight, but it's looking more like we're looking at Verstappen in terms of a drive we have to worry about in these last two episodes, in terms of, you know, trying to, you know, work with the gap we have and try and maintain it and control the lead in the championship that we have. And part of that control of the championship also means the arms race that we've been in with Red Bull and Mercedes. Unfortunately, we have a failure of some R&D on the aero side of things. That minor DRS upgrade we had on the aero side of things has failed, and that's a bit frustrating because it means I have to repurchase that. And to be fair, I did look at any other upgrade. Could I make a small upgrade just before Brazil, just before Abu Dhabi? There's nothing else I can afford. We're at that point in the season, that point in the car development where every upgrade is a major upgrade, and they're very expensive, apart from maybe the brakes upgrade on the chassis, but I'm going to stay away from that because we know the brake upgrades actually make the car worse under braking because they become a bit too sensitive. So we repurchase the DRS upgrade, so that's going to come in now after Brazil rather than in time for it, and at the moment we still have the ultimate chassis weight reduction upgrade pending, which will come in if it doesn't fail in time for the final race at Abu Dhabi. But it means going into Sao Paulo, we are now the third best team on the grid. Red Bull and Mercedes take a further step ahead of us and bring further upgrades to Sao Paulo. So like I alluded to last episode, you know, at Mexico and today's episode, we may be on the back foot trying to limit the damage effectively that maybe Lewis and Max can, you know, inflict on us, and we're hoping that weight reduction upgrade, that ultimate upgrade, that's going to be a massive one, massive leap forward, might even get us back to the top on paper on the R&D chart at Yas Marina. We're hoping that will be enough for us to seal the championship at Yas Marina. But here at Sao Paulo, you can see we've plateaued going into this one. Even the other teams below us, McLaren, you know, have made steps ahead of us. So it's going to be a very tricky race in what is already a difficult one, because historically the AI are very good at Sao Paulo. Tyre wear-wise, consistency, that run off the center S in Sector 1, and it's a sprint race episode. So you just never know what's going to happen with that race on Saturday and then the main Grand Prix on Sunday. But just again kind of showing you the lack of options we have in terms of upgrades, because they're all so expensive now. They're over the 1.2k we have of R&D points, and this is the career mode settings come into play. The boosted R&D and cash for the AI and reduced R&D and cash for myself means that although for a lot of this season we have actually had the best car, now finally you're seeing that affect the career mode settings, because the AI teams, all of them, have started to converge on each other, but have caught me up, and in the case of Mercedes and Red Bull, overtaken me, and I can't keep up with their pace at the moment because we're just simply not earning as much R&D as them. But obviously that is part of the reason why you guys voted for those settings at the very start of this series, to keep it a challenge, and it means I have to race right to the end, because if it wasn't for those settings, it may have been a bit of a dead championship and I may have been running away with this thing. But no, Verstappen and Lewis still have a chance, especially Verstappen. I feel he's been a bit more informed than Hamilton. And another caveat is this screen. Look at those last final engine components. We've got a very worn ICE, MGUK, and slightly MGUH as well. The rest of the components I think we'll be fine with, but those top 3 components, that is a little bit iffy, and I will have to probably take a penalty either this episode or in the finale at Abu Dhabi, which is not ideal, which is why I'm not going to change any components quite yet. I want to see how the sprint race goes, because of course, if you take penalties on a sprint round, they only get applied for the main Sunday Grand Prix. So let's see how Saturday's race goes, the sprint race, and then we'll decide from there. We'll see how worn out the components are, because I don't know, I don't mind taking penalties in the final race, but if, you know, it's just a scenario that makes us a bit more uncomfortable of worn out components. And as we go into qualifying, the icon on the right hand side, on the bottom right, is orange, not even kind of light yellow or anything. So that kind of shows that even the game's trying to tell us that we do actually have some very worn components. But I'm going to try and plow on and see what the performance will be like, at least here in qualifying on Friday and the sprint race, and then we'll decide how we go from there. But a good showing for Lewis Hamilton in Q1 here. Obviously, Sao Paulo is one of his favourite circuits in real life, so maybe a great place for him to bounce back after a few rocky races, you've got to say, in terms of that consistency level of scoring points and keeping up with myself and Max Verstappen. Usual kind of thing for us in Q1. We're kind of getting used to the car, getting used to the circuit. You know, it's the first time we've come to this circuit with this level of performance. You know, this time last season at Sao Paulo, this car was nowhere near this good, so it's kind of odd how quickly things have developed. But that's, you know, a kind of reflection on how well we have done of, you know, upgrading this car, you know, using all the driver perk benefits to maximize R&D and kind of, you know, negate the career mode settings that we've had of that reduced R&D, etc. We do make it through into Q3. The same can't be said for Albon. We mentioned this a couple of times in the previous episode, but ever since that Singapore spin where he span out of the lead of the race and lost it, I feel like that had a massive dent to his confidence and the kind of momentum his AI has got. He was so quick at the start of the season, the first half of the season, and he's just not the same driver now. I feel like, you know, we've seen it a couple of times in the past on F1 games where AI make big mistakes and that affects them as an AI for the rest of the season. I think we can safely say that's happening with Albon there, as we're the lone car in Q3 up against the 2 Mercs and 2 Red Bulls. And I say that because it's important, because the constructors, there is a fight still to be had with the Mercedes cars. It's not guaranteed we'll win the Constructors' Championship, so I need Albon to recover in the sprint race and then do well on Sunday if we want to try and maintain the lead ahead of the Silver Arrows as well. So both championships are very much in play. If you thought they were dead, they are very much not. It's all still to play for, and Sao Paulo, just like in real life, in the game, can be one of those races where you just never know what is going to happen. But for us, we're showing a much better pace on the first opening lap to be ahead of Russell. Behind Hamilton, though, Verstappen goes better, and now George Russell goes better on provisional pole position. And this second lap has not been great. I maximised my pace in the first lap, and we can only marginally maybe improve, if that. I think we went slower overall in that second lap, and so in the end of it, it will be only P6 on the grid. Russell is on pole position, Verstappen on the front row, Hamilton ahead of us by 1 position, which is not too bad there, but Verstappen being P2, that is a little bit of a concern, and also Russell in terms of our fight versus Merck, but because I maximised my pace on that first lap, I literally got everything I could, so that's why on the second lap I felt like we couldn't even gain that much, but we didn't gain anything because I actually did such a good job on that first lap. This is where genuinely the car is in terms of pace versus Merck, Red Bull, and even Lando Norris in the McLaren, because of the upgrading they've done versus us. We've plateaued into this episode, and you're seeing that now actually coming to fruition. So it's nothing to panic about, and as usual, we'll just go out there and do the best job we can in a sprint round. There could be some chaos in both races, so just got to try and make the most of it.
So it is all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top?
This will be a good chance for our rivals to maybe gain some extra points on us in this Grand Prix weekend, but equally for us, you know, if we can do what we did in Mexico, get ahead of Hamilton, gain some points on him. But crucially, it's really not even him we're looking at. Our focus is on Max, because really, Hamilton is quite a few points behind us in the standings. So Max is the real threat. He's 11 points behind us. If he wins the sprint, he would only be 3 points behind us then. That's then going to bring him right into play before we've even turned a wheel on Sunday's main Grand Prix. And he's on the front row alongside Russell. The only saving grace is Russell's actually been in very good form, so maybe you can deny him getting the P1, but we need to be very quick on this opening lap, try and gain 1 or 2 positions if we can, and then see what we can do to gain some points ourselves. So we line up here, P6 on the same row as Hamilton, Norris, Perez, Russell and Verstappen ahead of us on this sprint race on Saturday. It's a chance for some extra action in these episodes when the sprint round happens, but today it's an extra chance for my rivals to gain points on this. Let's try and deny that as we go to 5 red lights to the sprint here in Sao Paulo. It's a bit of a slow getaway for us. Perez squeezing Norris. Hamilton tries to cover us off, but into turn 1, dive down the inside to try and get ahead for P5. The rear end steps drifting through the second turn, and Hamilton swiped across us. We've got damage on the front wing. The front right is yellow, and for the second time in a row here, we've got damage on the front wing because of one of our championship rivals. That is a disaster for us, and we've not even gotten to the end of Sector 1 of this sprint round. Hamilton swiped across us. I can't believe it. First Verstappen making contact with that 3-wide moment. That was more of a racing incident, but I don't know how you can excuse this. We both drifted through a little bit, but then he just turns left. He just turns left into us. We had the room as we watch this kind of chase cam view. You can see if we both kept our racing lines, there would have been no problem. You know, Perez and Norris are showing that exactly ahead of us. But Hamilton, I don't know if he lost the rear end, but to correct it or whatever, he turns left on board with Sainz and the Haas behind us. You can see that. I mean, that on board very much shows you the difference in racing line, and that swipe across from Hamilton, whether it's intentional or not, I don't think so because of the rear end stepping for the Merc in the same way I did, but that fact still won't make that incident any less annoying and frustrating for me. We've seen it a couple of times in this game. The AI can get very aggressive and very erratic sometimes with their correction on the handling front, and it means now we have yellow damage on our front wing for the remainder of this sprint. I mean, thank God it's the sprint and not the full Grand Prix. And to be fair, also, like Mexico, we've been able to adapt our driving to drive around the damage because we've actually set the fast up the Grand Prix, but I think that's more so because the top cars ahead of us are fighting and close together. And there you go, Russell now nicks the fast up the Grand Prix, but we've got the pace to actually attack the Ferrari ahead. Maybe more of a comment on the slowness of the Ferrari rather than how fast we are, and we're able to actually overtake him in the first 2 turns to go up to P7. But now it may be more difficult because we know how quick that Haas is ahead of us of Carlos Sainz. But we're showing good pace in the last sector up the hill, using a lot of ERS to actually gain some time up there, but in Sector 2 losing a bit, Sector 1 as well, and it will mean that we have a very quiet sprint race up until lap 10 here, as there is some action for the leaders. Russell leads the way from that pole position. Lando Norris, though, the McLaren, having a little look on the outside. He's in P2, so that's good news for us. Verstappen down to P3, Hamilton P4 though, so both of them will still gain good points on us in this race. Lando looking to get the sprint win down the inside with DRS. Russell doesn't defend down the inside, opts for the outside line, and he's just taken for a mug. The McLaren up into P1 of this sprint, and Russell, he looks a bit slow. Has he got an issue? Because Lando immediately pulls out half a second on him in 2 corners, and he does have an issue because on lap 10 onto 11, Verstappen now is looking to make a move. The McLaren pulling away by 1.2 seconds onto the second last lap of the Grand Prix. One of our rivals looking to get up into second place. That will be 6 points for him in this sprint race. Russell giving him a good defense, and that may invite his teammate Lewis Hamilton into this fight. Verstappen up into P2. Hamilton is going to play the patient game, brake early, and he's going to hit down the inside because Verstappen and Russell have made contact, and there goes through Lewis Hamilton up into second place in a flash. Lewis goes from 4th to 2nd. Russell the other way around. He's down to P4 now. He's going to hold up Perez and Sainz, and he's holding them up so much that we are actually pretty damn close to Sainz and that entire pack, so we may have a chance to gain some positions because that Russell's basically like a mobile chicane right now, just holding up Sergio and Carlos Sainz. And there you go into turn 1. We can see that as Perez actually fails to overtake him. So on the last lap of this race, with the damage we have, with a worn engine, could we still gain one more position potentially of at least the silver arrow of Russell, as Perez tries to make light work of him now, second time lucky to get up into P4. Can we get Sainz perhaps? He's stuck behind Russell, and Russell's going to help us. He's going to help. Rival is helping us in this race, gain some points on not only his teammate, but also him, remember, it's just a Mercedes car for the constructors fight. And so we make 2 overtakes on the last lap of this sprint race to get up into P5. That, I will take that. You know, if you gave me that on lap 1 after that damage, I would have said, yeah, I'll happily take that. But the big winner today, I mean, Lando Norris will go on to get this sprint race win to show McLaren really are improving and going from strength to strength. But Hamilton in P2 will gain a load of points there for second place. Verstappen third. So both my rivals gain decent points in us as they are both in the top 3. That's not ideal, but what was ideal was that last lap just to get us 2 extra positions and get the P5 in this sprint race. But that was that did not go the way I wanted. That damage on lap 1 and that contact really put us on the back foot, even more so than we already were, having a slower car clearly than Mercedes and Red Bull. Thank God for Russell's issue, to be honest, in that second last lap. So now ahead of the actual second last race of the season, the Grand Prix proper on Sunday, Mercedes are 17 points behind us in the constructors. So Hamilton being up there in P2 did help Merck in the end, even though Russell went down the order, because obviously Albon, we didn't even see anything of him in that race. He was still outside the top 10. So it's another maybe a potential quiet race weekend for our teammate. So it's really just me versus the world versus Mercedes in that constructors fight. And in the drivers' championship, Verstappen is now 9 points behind us, which looks a bit more concerning for us as a driver. But ahead of that main Sunday race, I had to take a very important decision, and the decision is I am going to take a set of grid penalties because this engine's too worn. If I take this to Abu Dhabi, I will have to do a load of penalties at Yas Marina, and I would rather place my bets and gamble on us recovering in this race than Yas Marina, just because in a finale, I don't want to be at the back of the grid for a finale. That just adds so much more pressure onto an already pressure cooker of a race, of a final episode of the season. I'd rather do it here. There's potentially some rain on Sunday as well, so it could be a mixed up race, and that could play into our hands potentially. And we actually showed there, with damage, we had good pace. So with a full front wing, I think we actually could have a good chance of making our way up the order in the race tomorrow. So we're going to take these penalties and go to the back of the grid in the second last race. It's game time. Let's go to Sunday's race.
Welcome to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner, and just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. 2 very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Yung Cao into one of the 2 DRS zones will be key to any overtaking prospects today. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, the owner driver, Charles Leclerc and Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Sainz and Nicholas Latifi, Gasly, Bottas. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Lance Stroll and Vettel. Albon, they've taken a grid penalty. Joe, Yuki Tsunoda and Max Verstappen. Russell, Mick Schumacher. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Drugovich. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson, a lot of talented drivers out on the track today, but what will stand out for you?
My focus is 100% on the front of the grid. Like you said, we're seeing a lot of strong competition across those positions, so it would be super interesting to see the fight for that front spot. Personally speaking, I'm hoping for plenty of overtakes.
So we're not the only ones taking grid penalties here at Sao Paulo, maybe tactically before the finale next time out at Yas Marina, because Max Verstappen joined us towards the back of the grid, and after his issues yesterday, Russell has also had to take some engine components. So we are dead last, P22, Russell's P19, Verstappen P18. The only one of us in the championship that did not take penalties was Lewis Hamilton. So as things go for the man in P3 in the championship, with it all to make up, things are going his way with both myself and Max towards the back of the grid. And obviously, as I said before, Lewis does love this circuit IRL. So in the game here, this is now a massive, massive open goal for him to close up those 15 points into the final race. Myself and Verstappen both will have to try and make our way up the grid, so I'm a little bit less concerned about him closing the gap. But now, Hamilton, if he has a good race, as he did in the sprint round, genuinely could actually make up for all the poor races he's had as of late in the last few episodes. You can see it's a bit overcast here in Sao Paulo. Rain is going to be on the way later, which should spice things up, but we were sat here for an absolute age, and I was wondering what on earth is going on, and then I noticed this orange dot moving in Sector 2. There's still a car somehow out there. It's Daniel Ricciardo. The man is retiring out of Formula 1 here in this game, but he's soaking in the track apparently and still forming the grids. I've never seen this before in my own career save. And then we've got 1, 2, 3 disqualifications, 4 disqualifications, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 disqualified, 14 disqualified, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, apparently 20 cars. Everyone apart from 2 of us, myself and Ricciardo, got disqualified before we've even turned a wheel in the Grand Prix, including my championship rivals Hamilton and Verstappen. Ricciardo then goes through all the cars and forms the grid. At this point, potentially myself and Ricciardo are the only ones who are not disqualified because my name didn't come up. So here we go then to 5 red lights to the Brazilian Grand Prix. The second last race of the season is underway. But we're all good. No one's disqualified in reality. And Lando Norris still leads the way then off pole position. Hamilton loses his second place to Ricciardo. We're trying to find our way through into turns 1. But I don't know what went on there. But according to the FIA, for momentarily or temporarily, 20 cars got disqualified before the Grand Prix, but then reinstated them all as we went to 5 red lights. It's all calm now, but we're in P21. We get dive-bombed and re-overtaken momentarily by George Russell. It was not the most ideal first few turns because Drogovic, our old teammate, actually pinched us in so much and cut across us that we weren't able to make any inroads on him. And now, with a domino effect ahead of us with Guan Yu Zhou and Tsunoda going side by side, only now will we overtake the Brazilian in his home race in the Alfa Romeo up into P20 and then dive down the inside of the Chinese driver in the Alpine, who I think has some damage as he was going quite slowly versus Tsunoda. But compared to Verstappen, who I think's up in P13 already, we've had a howler of a getaway on lap 1. This is the replay then from Verstappen, the reigning champion, the reigning double champion, remember, of course, as he won in Season 1 here of this career mode. Dives down the inside of 1, 2, 3, 4 cars, and then through the Senna S, gets the good exit on the Alfa Romeo there of Valtteri Bottas, and then will go on, I think, to overtake a further car of the Aston Martin. So Verstappen really getting his head down, not letting the disqualification fluster him. Big dive down the inside of the Aston Martin, and all of a sudden, at the end of Sector 1, he's up into P13. At this point, we were still floundering in second last place. Back to the live action now, lap 2, trying to get Yuki Tsunoda. Some contact made ahead of us between Schumacher and the other Alfa Romeo car, so potentially one free position there again, but we need to get past Yuki first in the AlphaTauri, down the inside. No DRS quite yet, but we do have enough speed to get him, and up the road, I believe Valtteri Bottas there has, no front wing, lack thereof of a front wing, and we're able to slip through on the inside very narrowly. That could have actually been quite nasty there if we timed that incorrectly on the right-hand side, but we're up ahead of the Flying Finn, and now looking to get Mick Schumacher, having won the last episode, the last Grand Prix, down here in P16. Not been the best weekend for him compared to his teammate Carlos Sainz, who's in the top 10, doing very well for Haas there, but obviously Formula 1's a cruel sport. You become the hero and then you go back to zero a lot of the time, but we're able to get past Mick, and now there's a bit of a gap to our teammate Albon. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, he just is not performing the same way he did in the seat. I'm convinced that incident in Singapore has really dented him, because he's now for a couple of laps been unable to overtake the Aston Martins ahead of him, and will close up to him and look to overtake him before he even gets another chance to do so. We've both got DRS open, but he goes very defensive and will compromise his line through the left-hander. We take a wide line to give him all the room in the world, and we just go very easily past him. I mean, to be honest, maybe just waving us by, because we are the one in the Drivers' Championship fight, but ideally I want him to try and follow me through and try and gain some points in this race, because although Russell is behind both of us, we've got Hamilton right up there in the top 3, maybe scoring some points today. That could close the gap in the Constructors' fight, but in a straight line, finding it difficult to actually get the Aston Martin. Don't know whether they're running a low drag setup or what, but we have to make a move instead at turn 1 rather than actually getting him in a straight line, and we actually drift through the Center S exit to finish off the move on Sebastian Vettel, and then we make a move on the second Aston Martin in a move that's giving me some major deja vu, because it's a very similar pass as we're into P13, and up the road now we can see Verstappen, who despite making all that progress up to P13 on lap 1 has been stuck behind Pierre Gasly in P12, and the Frenchman is actually looking to make a move of his own on Latifi. So the AlphaTauri so preoccupied with overtaking a car itself that Verstappen hasn't been able to get maybe the wave by he wanted from the junior sister team, and instead is having to make the move himself on the Williams car. We've now closed up. We're playing the patient game, brake early and just try and suss out this space to work with. We're going to follow Verstappen through on the left-hand side and get the Canadian in the Williams car to get up into P12, and then can we now have a look at Verstappen. This is good though, after initially a pretty shocking lap 1 of losing so much time and positions to Verstappen. We're now back in, locked in with him, and we can try and follow him and mirror him and overtake him, hopefully, to obviously gain points once we both make our way into the top 10, and the top 10 is right there for the taking with Gasly. But first and foremost, we have to make the move on the Dutchman, and that's easier said than done. Just like in real life, Verstappen puts up a stern defense and will not go down without a fight, and we're unable to make that move into turn 1. A good old pinch from Verstappen, and we have to go again. Lap 9 off the Center S, DRS available to us, but also Verstappen as well. So the AlphaTauri here helping him out. Just like in Mexico, we're having to try and fight Verstappen and Gasly. I'm hoping this time round it doesn't end in an absolute disaster with myself and Max making contact, but Verstappen, he's a bit slow, you know, into sector 2, up the hill, sling one down the inside, and it's a very surprising pass in a place I didn't think we'd make a move, but we have done, and now we can set our sights on Pierre Gasly. We need to try and clear him, and then hope that he maybe doesn't make life easy for Verstappen behind, and that'll give us a bit of breathing room, but then there's so much work to do to try and do anything to catch Hamilton way up the road in the top 3, I still believe, behind the 2 McLarens, who are running in a very dominant 1-2 right now, it must be said, I believe, with Lando Norris in first and Ricciardo second. But we make the move on Gasly with DRS on the end outside into the top 10 for the first time in this race, and now we've closed up to the second Williams of the afternoon of Kevin Magnussen, but he's gonna be very awkward to pass in sector 2 as he just places his car in the right place for me not to be able to yo-yo left and right and make a move on the outside or send one to the inside of this next right-hander, for example, and instead frustrates us as we lose some time to Gasly, who's still very much in our DRS windows. We now make a big mistake. We catch the car. We keep it going in a straight line, just about, but my life flashed before my eyes as we were opposite lock in what is nearly a flat-out left-hander, and now Gasly sent one down the inside and offset us, and has got a great run up this hill as we've cut onto a brilliant onboard shot here, looking rearwards, and Pierre and Verstappen again are in a 3-wide moment, and Gasly again locks up into turn 1 of a race, to aid Verstappen. This time, though, myself and Max avoid contact, but it's uncanny how for the second time in a row, Gasly's involved in a 3-wide moment to help out one of our championship rivals in the more senior Red Bull family car. And now the rain is coming. Verstappen's overtaking Magnussen, will follow him through and then look to re-pass Verstappen on the outside this time, entering Sector 2 whilst rain starts to fall. So we've got a bit of a damp track, and Verstappen will keep his foot in. Look at the mirror as he sends one down the inside to nip his nose, and we're now drifting down the hill as this roller coaster of Sector 2 becomes even more of a challenge when you've got some rain falling on the circuit. So soon enough it may be time for intermediates, but at the moment we're still trying to finish off this move on Verstappen. We fake to the left, go to the right this time at turn 1 to get the overtake, but it's still not done. Max gets a great exit off that corner, and instead we have to wait to the DRS zone. This now may be the final nail in the coffin to get us past the Dutchman. A bit wide on the air entry, but we are able to just about catch the car and keep Verstappen at bay. But you can clearly see the track is quite damp because it is a bit of a tricky situation. We are making a lot of errors, and it's just mostly just because the tracks are just difficult. You know, we're trying our best, but again we go wide there and just have to kind of scurry across the curb and grass. Verstappen now is going to have a little look on the inside. This might be awkward because we're coming in because it's clearly wet enough for the intermediates. My engineer has called me in. We've got cars ahead of us that have come in, and both myself and Verstappen are in then for those intermediate tyres. So lap 15, so we're not even halfway through this Grand Prix, and it's wet enough for inters. So it may potentially be inters to the end of this race, which could curtail mine and Max's progress to catch the remaining of the top 10. It's a mediocre stop, I would say, because Verstappen actually gets released into us there with that momentarily ghosting, but we do stay ahead of one of our rivals, importantly, in P11 at the moment. Some people yet to pit onto inters, so we will gain a few more positions and be inside the top 10 for some points today. But as it stands, I still believe Hamilton is in the top 3 of this race, which would be a massive amount of points versus myself and Verstappen today. And I don't think it's likely we're going to be catching them, because 5 laps later, lap 20, the gap has grown to 12 seconds to the next car, Piastri, and you can clearly see we are struggling for grip on the rear end out these corners. My setup is pretty much for a dry Sao Paulo, so we maybe should have focused a bit more on the forecast and maybe prepared a bit for the rain with my wings, and so we are struggling a bit for grip ultimately, but we're still staying ahead of Verstappen, so at least that's one thing. But just about, as now Max, as I say it, flies by with the exit he got, but we've got the speed in a straight line due to our lower wings, and we're able to come back through around the outside. And now Max is even drifting a little bit because he loses the back end, and we're able to get back past him. But the whole time both of us are so edgy on the throttle out of every corner, so I think both of us have not set this car up for these conditions, and I'm especially though struggling, and we're just losing time in time to Piastri in the entire top 7. So I feel like already, you know, there's still plenty of this race to go, but unfortunately I think we might be trying to settle to keep this P8, keep Verstappen behind us, and meanwhile Lewis Hamilton, he's up in P2, so as it stands that'll be 18 points he'll gain on us. Obviously we'll gain 4 points with our P8, so it'll kind of balance out. But as it stands, if it was to end like this, Hamilton is going to gain so many points that he's going to get right back into this championship fight in time for Abu Dhabi. Lando Norris leads the way. He's been leading this entire race, dominating Sao Paulo ever since that sprint race win on the Saturday. But yeah, there is Lewis right up his gearbox. He could still even win the Grand Prix. He's only half a second behind him now. Perez P3, Leclerc, Sainz, Ocon, and then Piastri the top 7, and then quite a large gap of now 20 seconds. So it's taken 6 laps and they've grown 8 seconds of a gap to us. Such is the lack of pace I have in this car. I am struggling so bloody hard, and at the moment I'm forming a bit of a trolley train behind me of Verstappen, Ricciardo, I think Guan Yu Zhou, the 2 Aston Martins, Russell's in there, Schumacher as well. It is not a great vibe. I was not feeling great in this car. It is full damage limitation of just trying to save this P8 to just get something in this race versus Hamilton and Verstappen behind. Yellow flags, though, on lap 30. Schumacher has binned it. He's reversed in Sector 2, and that will bring out the full course safety car. So that may just change things in this race. But under this safety car, the delta time has been very aggressive. Verstappen's so far back from me, and I slow down to a halt in neutral, and I still can't make the delta time. I get a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, but the delta time was going to and has put me behind Verstappen. How does that make any sense? The delta time for me to slow down and drive under yellows was going to mean Max had to overtake me under yellows. How has he not got a penalty for doing that? And because I was literally stopped on circuit to try and make that delta time, I ghosted, and I think that's why he's not got a penalty. But I've still got one for not making the delta time. But it makes no sense how the delta time was going to put me behind Verstappen. I got so frustrated there going alongside Max to just kind of see where the delta was that we nearly stuffed it into the safety car. But literally, that delta on the right-hand side, that puts me alongside Verstappen, which makes no sense. And then we get this glitch that we've seen before on this game, where it's going from slow down for the delta, catch the safety car, slow down for delta, catch the safety car. I overtake Verstappen. He then reluctantly doesn't want to overtake me. Then he eventually gets past. But look at this. This is the glitch we've seen before. We've seen it before in this very career mode, where essentially every AI is driving to the delta time. But at this stage of the safety car, they should all be trying to catch the safety car. You can even see the heads-up display message on the top there is flickering between catch the safety car and stick to the delta time. Because we're under yellows and we're under safety car, and you can see on the top right that delta is flashing red and then going away, and all the AI are basically driving to that slow delta, so none of them are going to catch the top 7 pack and the safety car. So I decide to come in to pit onto full wets, because also I want to say on the lead up to that safety car incident lap 30, I kept getting messages from my engineer saying it's heavy rain, stick on these tyres. Well, if it's heavy rain, let's go on to full wets. But I think everyone was so stubborn because there was only 6 laps left, or 8 laps left of the Grand Prix, that no one wanted to come in for an extra pit stop. So I've decided I've got to drive through anyway, so I may as well come on to the full wets. And more importantly, I'll do that because look how ridiculous this is. Because of this glitch with the safety car delta time, I've made a whole ass pit stop, and I've come out and I can catch Verstappen. And it's like I've not even made a pit stop. It's like I've not even gone through the pits. Because all the AI, every AI, is driving to a delta that they shouldn't be doing right now. Because everyone, including me, and every AI, they should all be trying to bunch up and catch the safety car. But right now, I'm sure the safety car has picked up Lando Norris, Hamilton, and the top 7, essentially. And that's why, on the top left, they're over a minute ahead of us. They're going to basically lap us, probably, by the time we get going. And I can't do anything to speed Verstappen up. So we're stuck here so far back. Lap 33, I'm still stuck behind Verstappen. And now look at the mini-map. The safety car and the cars who are correctly behind them have caught up and have swallowed all the other AI. So effectively, the game is forcing everyone from P8, Verstappen below, to be lapped under this safety car, because that's what's going to happen right here. As you're about to see, we're going so slow because now the message has corrected itself, and there we go, the message is gone, and now it's time to come in and go green. So we've got 3 laps left of this Grand Prix, and now P8 downwards have been forced to be lapped. So Lando Norris now, there he is in P1. On the road is then Verstappen, myself, Ricciardo, who is behind me legitimately in P10. I think Hamilton's somewhere there, but you've got a load of lapped cars. We then come in because I want to serve my drive-through straight away as we come in under the safety car. But the message doesn't go away because, well, I guess I was mistaken. I didn't know there must be a rule where you're not allowed to serve a drive-through straight away. I thought you were allowed to serve a penalty like this, a drive-through or a stop-go, straight away after a safety car comes in because you're under green flag conditions. But I guess, thinking about it, technically I was still under yellows when I came in. But I mean, it didn't matter. It literally didn't matter because I had to do the drive-through either way, you know, whether it was on that lap or this lap, and I'm still going to be miles behind. And on top of that, Verstappen onwards, P8 downwards, were a whole lap behind anyway because of a whole safety car lap glitch. So, yeah, this has been a very unbelievably frustrating episode of just this game breaking on me so much in so many ways. We had the 20 disqualifications at the start of this race. That didn't even happen then in the end, but it still came up as disqualified at the start. Then we had that safety car delta, which I maintain. I did not speed away from Max. Max and the rest of the grid slowed down because I believe what happened was under safety car, straight away all the AI had that delta glitch. I sped away and then I couldn't slow down enough and the delta time was going to put me behind Verstappen. So I was never going to be able to make that delta, and I was always going to get that drive-through. And then Max overtook me under safety car, so he didn't get a penalty though because I was ghosting. And then of course that delta time issue then happened for everyone, and we all got lapped under the safety car. So yeah, I can't believe it. You cannot make this stuff up. In the second last race of this season, after having a nice cushion of 9 points to Verstappen, 15 points to Hamilton, the in-game FIA, the game has screwed me over. Unbelievable FIA. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This has been tampered with. This is shocking. Last place, drive-through that wasn't deserved. Broken safety car. Hamilton's got P2. Verstappen got some points. We've lost the lead of the championship.
Another superb Sao Paulo Grand Prix comes to an end then, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race for the McLaren team, and I'm very happy to see them there on the top step of the podium.
It's a great race win, a dominant and deserved race win for Lando Norris, and a deserved second place for Lewis Hamilton, third place for Leclerc. Fair play to them, but we had no chance of gaining more positions from P8 because of that safety car issue, and then obviously my own drive-through, which is a separate issue, which is, I think, related to the safety car delta issue. So it means Hamilton gains 18 points in this championship. I gain 0, obviously. Max gains 4, I believe, for P8, of course. And it means now, after the whole race weekend, sprint race and the full Grand Prix, Hamilton gains 25 points on me. I only scored 4 points. Verstappen scored a total of, 10 points? 10 points he scored in total. So it means now, going into the final race, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the title decider is between myself, Hamilton, Verstappen, as it always was. But Hamilton now is the one in the lead and with the advantage of 3 points to my second place. And Verstappen is a further 5 points back in third. It is all to play for, but this championship has been blown wide open by the FIA, by the in-game FIA. So the game effectively, but, you know, to keep it a realism, the FIA, they've blown it wide open here in the second last race with whatever the hell that delta time thing was and the safety car and the drive-through. They've done it themselves. They've blown it wide open. We are now second in the Constructors by 1 point. Merck lead us by 1 point. I know through the history of my team career modes, we've had a lot of championship deciders that go down to the wire. And a lot of people assume that maybe I've tampered with it to somehow make it, or as coincidence. I never do anything like that. And this time, I really did absolutely nothing. I was trying to get the best position I could because we were comfortable. We've been comfortable for 4 episodes. And in one race, this weird glitch has taken us from being comfortable to now on the back foot and chasing a driver and chasing a team in the Constructors and Drivers' Championship. There we go. Well, it's all to play for in Abu Dhabi. but that is a very sour taste in the mouth after Sao Paulo. Guys, nevertheless, if you have enjoyed the episode, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And I guess we have an absolute blockbuster finale to come up at Abu Dhabi next time out. Hamilton versus Verstappen versus myself. And we've got so many fights in the constructors to filter out. Till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.